Call the meeting to order. First order of business, as always, is to review and make any changes to the agenda that we need to. I have 3 additions that came in after this was put up. So first one is water bills and shut-off notices. I think folks probably saw Aaron's email about that. Second added item is dog bite in Montgomery Village. Put that under new business. And the third, which I think Aaron also sent an email out, is just the mowing contract, which we'll add under Public Works, under Building and Grounds. Anything else to be added or removed from the agenda?
I just want a super quick minute to share an update from the superintendent with regard to housing in the area, because I think that it impacts our conversations about short-term rentals and whatnot.
Great.
Thanks.
So we'll put that under new business. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right.
Just as a point, I don't know whether it was important, but couldn't understand anything that Emily said. If there was something that we needed to hear.
Okay, it was just an added item about an update on housing availability from the superintendent.
Sorry, I was mumbling.
So we'll try to project so the mic picks us up okay and everybody can hear. All right, next item of business then is the approval of the minutes of April 18th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 18th as written.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We've got an abstention from, yep. And Lanny abstained. Great, so motion carries 3-0 to 2. Next up, Public Works. So start with roads and bridges. Do you have a general update before we jump into anything specific, Mark?
We've got all the stone covered back up, and we're putting gravel back on now. We should be in pretty good shape by the end of the week. We're getting there. Most of the spots are all, covered back up. So
Okay.
now we're just going through and put some more gravel and getting roads back into shape.
Anyone want to talk? Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of the week the weather holds.
Okay, just make sure that if we're talking, we gotta just make sure we
Yeah.
speak up so that the
Oh,
mics
okay.
can pick us up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And Billy is
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
going around grading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically grading in the gravel, right? He's not. We're not going out and regrading regular sections, maintenance kind of wise. We're still grading as far as like he's going out and grading in the
What?
gravel and.
Well, he's starting at the end of the roads now.
Okay.
The whole roads.
Okay, so it's not just specifically spot
No,
checking stuff.
no, he takes the road and we're
Okay.
going through the whole road. Now,
Okay.
you gotta do it like 2 or 3 times,
Yeah. I just didn't know if we kind of transitioned out of like triage into the next phase of grading work.
Yeah, we're kind of in the next phase now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So we'll talk a little bit more about road maintenance and stuff too, and we might have a couple more visitors who are interested in chatting about that. So for now, we'll keep going. Grant updates or anything else, regular update around roads and bridges in terms of anything we need to know.
We're just keeping busy trying to get
Okay.
the roads back into shape.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Tosca.
So Mark, I'm curious if you guys have a schedule for grading, because for the last multiple years, there's no sense to it, there's no rhyme or reason. And North Hill right now, despite it getting through mud season really well,
Yeah.
I'm driving 3 miles an hour, it's a wreck, and it hasn't been graded from top to bottom for at least 5 years. So it really,
We graded it last year.
no you didn't. I live on it. It gets graded, like, you do the bottom by the post office, And it just, no, it hasn't been graded by my driveway for 5 years. And I just want to have some kind of, like, I can count on the road getting back in good shape.
Oh,
And
okay.
it just, it's a mess right
I
now.
mean, I didn't realize that.
It's,
you know.
well, that's the thing, I don't
Yeah.
see anybody, any of you guys, I mean, you know, this winter I had 2 incidents
Yeah,
from just total lack of knowledge about the road conditions, and
yeah,
I have driven that
Yeah,
road
I'm
for
sorry.
25 years, and I've never been 3 hours late to work, twice, and same conditions, and I just, I know you have a lot on your plate, and I know it hasn't been the same since the bakers left, but it's really, it's
Yeah.
disheartening, and I'm ashamed of the roads. And I drive on J roads, and Morse over there, that, there just isn't, it's just not the same. And it
Well,
breaks my heart, and it's breaking my cars,
yeah.
and I'm begging you to
Well,
like,
I'm learning and.
I
you
know, it's something
and-
scheduled or something consistent, and I know it's great to have Billy, but what about our other guys that we're paying?
Yeah,
I feel like they're all afraid to put that blade in the ground. Like, somebody needs to go to grader school, man, they're just scraping, and it's just,
well, Billy's been running it. Billy ran it last year.
I know, but is he gonna continue to, you know, can one guy?
Well, we're trying to train with him and get people on it.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
mean,
mean, alright,
yeah,
I mean, it's breaking my heart, and the roads are in rough shape, and if North Hill's the best we got, and it does, that when it got rebuilt, there is no mud through that section. But now it's just potholes and
well,
everything,
they're all like that right now. It's mud season. We just got through mud season. We're
I
trying to
know,
get
but
it back up.
I think we can do better, is all I'm saying, and I know you work hard, and I've sat there,
I mean, the
but
weather
trust me.
doesn't help either, all the rain we've had.
Yeah, but I'm driving other dirt roads in other towns that are not in the shape that ours are, and it's from experience, and I just,
Mhm.
climate change be damned, there's gotta be another way forward to put some money into these roads yearly to prevent.
Well, we're putting in quite a bit right now, trying to get them back into shape, which hasn't been done, and we're, you know.
Well, I know, there
doing
was,
it
and
now.
there was a bunch of years of total neglect, which hasn't helped you.
No,
at
that's
all.
what we're still trying to catch up on.
I know,
Yeah,
I just wish there was a magic bullet.
that grader's been running every day, and
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Well, when you get around to it.
Would it be possible to post like a schedule of like how and when things will be kind
I
of,
probably could now, I mean, right in the middle of mud season, you're trying to just,
yeah,
try
so-
to,
keep
you know,
after it.
get through, but.
I don't want you to get
That's-
stuck, like, so people are, you told me you were gonna grade my road, it's just trying to make
Yeah.
an order in which, or that it's gonna happen twice a year between this time and this time,
Yeah,
and it's just, I just feel like it's been real slapdash and whatever, and I'm gonna, like, Billy managed to scrape to Black Falls, but you can see where he sort of said, this is gonna be good enough, and sometimes it's just, you know, they have,
well, yeah,
I mean, again, I don't wanna be, there's not a lot of us on North Hill, but when you have to drive 2 to 5 miles an hour to avoid destroying your vehicle just in potholes, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and I know, I've been up some other roads that are worse, and that's why I'm so alarmed at the state of things, but it's kind of like,
I am too. I mean,
I-
we're doing the best we can,
I
and,
know.
you know, and things have been neglected, and that's sort of why I took the job. Last year, I just sat back and was watching this stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, well, somebody's gotta get in there to try to help,
I know,
You know,
you're gonna do
so-
anything the town asks of you,
I
and I
mean,
appreciate that.
but
Alright,
there's only so much, you know, we can do.
alright.
I mean, we're trying to keep them passable.
Well, just keep Billy back, don't let him, just make him work like 20-hour days for a couple weeks.
No,
Tell him
I
to
don't know
stop
about
in
that.
my house and I'll give him a
No.
G&T and we'll get
he was
him
working
on-
Saturday all by himself, trying to get things
I
patched
know.
up. and-
Alright, well, glad, I'm glad to know that he's still on the job.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we're trying to learn from him and get,
Yep.
you know.
Will he teach you though? Is he actually teaching you or is he just barking?
No,
Good.
he's,
Yeah.
I mean, the way you learn is you gotta
Yeah.
watch what he does.
Yeah, good.
I
Well, that's
mean,
great. That's good.
And you can't get in the grader, but you can watch what he does to push the stuff aside and, you know,
You should
and
figure out.
that's how Billy Junior learned.
Yeah.
And that's, you know,
Good.
you just gotta learn how to push it, you know, back and forth, and then eventually we'll get in it,
Yeah.
you know, but right now, it's just trying to get things patched up, and, but, you know, like today, I watched him for a while, you know.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
I've learned it over-
Yeah, but
Well, at least you're
Scott's
headed.
planning on getting in it, and,
Good.
yeah.
How not to be afraid.
No, I'm not afraid of it, and you gotta move the dirt, you gotta dig down and go, yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna take up any more of your time. I just
No, no, no.
wanted to
Yeah.
voice my opinion on that, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I'm sorry
It's-
about those
yeah.
2 incidents, and, you know, I'll try to do a better
It
job.
happens,
I'll try
it
to do a
just-
better job.
It sucks, but ice is the worst.
Yeah.
You can't always predict when it happens.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
Thanks, Tosca.
yeah.
You don't have any grant updates at this point, we're not tucked into any of those yet, are we?
Well, we're getting the reimbursement from a grant from last year.
Yeah,
Grant and aid,
yeah,
we hadn't got it yet, so we tracked it
Yeah.
down, and it
And
was
that
mailed
was
in January, and now it's been
for-
mailed back out today, so hopefully we'll get that
Yeah.
this week.
So that was for $20,340.
Grant and aid program, yeah.
So that's about $20,000 in revenue that wasn't budgeted for. When we talk about this, we can talk about that again.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be coming in.
But you guys haven't, you haven't started any other work on any of the new grant projects?
No.
That's right. Yep.
No,
Okay,
no.
great.
I think one of our first projects is to get this parking lot done.
Yeah,
When we get the roads into shape,
yeah.
it's
I
gonna be
didn't
one
know
of
what to
the,
say, but the parking lot's
that's-
worse than my road.
that's gonna be one of the first projects.
Yay!
I mean,
Yeah, so we did approve that
Yeah.
quote at the last meeting, and
Yeah.
you told them that we're going with them, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
good,
yeah, I don't know,
great.
yeah,
So as soon as they
Yeah.
have a schedule that they're looking at, we can talk to Northwest Solid Waste about
yeah,
what they're doing, just to make sure we don't have any issues.
yeah, yeah, once we start digging it up,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We'll get all that straightened out.
So item 3 here under roads and bridges is related to the email that we got from a resident on 58. I think everybody was copied on that email. So I did follow up with her. So one clarification, the tire that she was asking to be replaced wasn't actually destroyed. They managed to plug it, so it's patched and she's still able to use it. It was damaged. I asked her if she had any pictures of the damage to get a better idea of kind of what might have happened. She didn't have any photos to share.
Mhm.
I think the board is aware that we've had at least one other person on Hill West mention that their tire got damaged from what they thought was material on the road, and then a couple days ago, someone in Black Falls mentioned that they had had some damage to a tire. That individual was able to send a picture of it, and so, you know, the tire definitely is destroyed. It's got a massive stone in it. So the question from the person on 58, which is what spurred this, was whether or not the town would reimburse them for any damages or / replacement of the tire. So I just wanted to put it on here just for discussion with the board. There's never been a history of the board paying for any damage to a vehicle that was caused on a road. I mean, there's been some vehicular to vehicular incidents where we've had different
I remember the.
different
Greatest-
outcomes there. But as far as damage to a vehicle on a town road caused by an inanimate object, the town has not in the past given any monetary compensation to anybody for damages like that. You know, the concern would be that if we set a precedent there'd have to be some sort of standard in terms of like, how do we
Yeah.
know what the damage was caused by? How do we gauge these? I think everybody's probably, shares the sentiment that we don't want to see any damage to vehicles, but
Well,
it would be kind of a slippery slope, although I hate that term.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my.
But I did just want to have a conversation, so any board members want to speak to this or have any thoughts or reflections on it, or?
I mean, I've talked to Enosburg and Berkshire, they have the same policy, sometimes stuff happens, but they don't reimburse, and then Enosburg had one issue. They were grading the roads and this car went over the hump of the and broke its oil pan on the car.
Yeah,
But they had signs up and they were grading, they brought the town to court, but the court sided with the town, said, you know, they were just negligent driving, and
Yeah.
they were maintaining the roads, so
okay,
that, you know, just.
The fact you guys were held harmless for stuff
Yeah.
like that,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that's part of the state.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that would be a really, really treacherous precedent. to
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
that, I mean, Eric just had the shocks replaced in his car, and I mean, could
Yeah.
he say that it's from driving up and down the Hebrew Road? Absolutely. Is there any proof of that? No. How old are they? You know, I mean,
yeah,
I just think
Yeah.
that we would be looking at all sorts of maintenance repair bills for cars year round.
I mean, we're sorry it happens, but it's.
Right, and of
I
course,
mean,
we don't want it to
yeah.
happen, but I don't think that that's a precedent that we can set in good faith,
Mhm.
because we're not experts on car maintenance and mechanics, and I'm not in a position to go out and evaluate people's vehicles
Yeah,
Yeah.
for damage.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the material that you're using is all standard, like all towns, for the
yeah,
most part, are using that.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
So it's not like it's exceptional in that way.
yeah,
Well, and it's what the roads need, and
Yeah.
that's what people have also been saying, like, this is the material that we need, so you
Yeah.
can't have it both ways.
yeah, yeah.
And we need to fix our roads.
That's what we're trying to do, you know, put this material in and so that it makes the base. The places we did that last year, you know, we're good this year, so we're hoping the locations that we're doing it again this year will be good for next year, and, you know, just need to make a base. And then you couldn't cover that base back up right off because we couldn't get the material up there, and the material was too wet to put back on, so
Mhm.
that's why we left it the way it was, but at least cars weren't sinking.
Yeah.
They could get through, you just had to go slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's a consensus on the board not to change the precedent that we've been operating under for however long that's been in
Good call.
place.
Or I would've handed you a bill.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna do that, but I mean, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, there would have been a
because-
line
Yeah,
at
there
the
would
door.
have been
Yeah.
right out the
Yeah,
door.
yeah.
That's the main reason
Probably
I
some at the
came,
table.
is to
Yeah.
make
I got
we
you.
were all thinking like
Yeah.
that, because,
Yeah,
and it does, you know, shit does happen.
yeah,
And
Okay.
it only,
Do
We
we
try
need
to
to
prevent it.
consider signage when there is material that we're putting on the, I mean, I feel like that should be common sense. Looking
Yeah, I guess.
looking
I
at what
could-
is in front of you,
Yeah.
or
I
there's
think
stone in the
that-
road, so you gotta slow
I
down.
think that should be common sense, but.
you're talking about
Yeah.
that big stuff
Yeah.
that's down, like, I
Yeah.
drove up the,
3.5.
it's pretty rough, but you can get around it usually.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Okay.
didn't
Yeah.
drive on it the other day, cause I was scared of it, but
Yeah,
I
Alright.
saw it, it was very clear.
yeah,
It was there.
yeah.
All right, well, I
Sorry,
will,
guys.
I will,
Okay, thank you,
bye,
Tom.
Tosca,
Thanks,
thanks.
Tosca.
Have a good night,
Yeah.
guys.
Too.
Good to
Night.
see everybody. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Tosca.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll reach out to this individual and just let her know that the board discussed it and we're sticking with the same, you know, policy that we've had in the past.
Yeah,
And if anybody else reaches out, we'll make sure that's clear as well. So,
Mhm.
okay, good. The last item under roads and bridges is just the Creamery Bridge Road work. So this is something that we looked at last fall.
Oh, yeah.
This is down by the bridge.
Yeah.
It's a combination of issues here. One is the campsite by the bridge that's owned by the Tylers, and the issues there with high school kids partying. And then vehicular access off the road onto their site, and then there's, which is more the town's concern, is drainage issues there with the ditch line that's getting direct discharge into West Hill Brook. It's a class 4 road, so it's pretty low on our work list as far as the state goes for the required work we need to do to mitigate discharge into streams. So it's pretty low on our list, which means it's pretty low on the funding spectrum of what we can expect to maybe get help with. So I went up there with John Little with MRBA, and we looked at the work, and it is something that MRBA would be more than happy to support, but their grant cycle, we would have had to put in an application at the beginning of April or the end of February or March. So we've missed the grant cycle to get funding consistent with it. They were gonna go back to some of the outstanding grants they have out there now, and potentially talk to anybody who has had a grant in place for more than like 2 or 3 years but hasn't acted on it, and potentially see if they can reprogram funds, and if that's the case, they might be able to free some money for us, this spring, summer. Otherwise, for them, it would be looking at their next cycle. So
I don't think it's gonna really cost too much to fix that up.
it shouldn't.
I mean-
Yeah. The question is, can we get funding if we can get someone else to pay for it?
Well, yeah, exactly, that's always better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll wait to hear back from John and Lindsay as far as whether or not there's an opportunity there. And then I need to circle back to the Tylers just in terms of their plans for the site. But just wanted to put it back out there that we haven't forgotten about it from last year.
Yeah,
And then the last part of it is just, I guess, with the advent of summer and school getting out, just reconnecting with Andre around, expectations of potentially some monitoring of activities down there or whatever we can do to help avoid the same issues we had last year.
With that, just on the same zone, is Creamery Bridge Road itself on the Hill West side gonna be graded or addressed at all this year? I know
they're all gonna be.
well, okay,
I mean,
I didn't know as a
it's-
fourth class road.
We
I
do
thought
have
it
a
was-
schedule.
Okay.
I mean, it's just not posted, but,
Yeah,
I mean, right now, we're trying to get the main highways, main places fixed right now.
yes,
And then the plan is to go get everything graded, before June, then we start putting chloride on. We do a final grade, and we put chloride on to hold the roads together. Right now, we're just putting gravel on and trying to get things shaped back up. And then after that, you start putting, like, the beginning of June, when it starts getting real dusty, you start grading everything again, and then you put the chloride on to hold the roads for the summer.
yeah,
So, but that road will be done, then.
Yeah.
I think he went down and graded it some.
On the Creamery Bridge?
Yeah.
Creamery Bridge Road?
Yeah, he created it, I think one day he went down there.
on the Hill West side? That's what I meant was.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh, no, West Hill side.
yeah, the West Hill side's
Oh.
great, I have
Oh,
no
okay.
complaints there.
Oh, okay.
I just
Oh, the
wasn't
west side.
sure
Yeah.
that,
Oh,
and I know it's not a priority and I'm not like trying to press it, and it's also one of those things where like, once it's nicer, then you get a lot more people driving on it.
yeah,
But it is
Oh,
pretty
okay, yeah.
trashed,
yeah, that is.
infested,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that the water took it out a lot this year.
yeah. No, it isn't.
Okay.
That'll be a good one.
I can
Read
make
practice.
sure
Yeah.
And that's it.
at the high school that it's reiterated through announcements, expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that site, if it
Oh,
becomes an
yeah.
issue, think that I'll hold off on asking for that to be announced until, like, if it does sort of become an issue, as not to sow a seed of, oh, that could be a repost.
Okay. So then maybe we'll wait and tackle that if or when it becomes a problem.
I think
Sound
asking
good.
Andre, like, keep a close eye on it,
Okay.
preemptively would be, a great plan, but.
Okay, great. So if it's okay with folks, it's 7 o'clock, or 1 of 7. So if we want, we can just put a pin in things now and shift over to visitors. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, awesome. So we always do visitors in the order that folks showed up to the meeting. So Sue, you were the first one on the call today, so do you have something for visitors?
I wanted to remind Mark that maybe the week of May 23rd, we could get the American flags and the covered bridge banners hung in time for Memorial Day.
Okay,
The week of May 23rd, I think
Yeah.
would be good.
okay.
Thank you, that was it.
Thanks, Sue. Merle, you were the next one up on the call, so if you have something for visitors, feel free to hop on.
I just would like to address the board and to see more discussion with the board members on a lot of issues that come up. There's absolutely no way, and I think we would all agree, there's no way that 5 human beings are going to agree on everything all the time. And I don't hear any dissents from the board or anybody some issues from different angles. Play a double taxation to the best decisions are made. But all the board members look at the issues from all angles and express their opinions. Then, of course, once the board vote, then you all come together as a board and support it. But this board is this, to me, is quite passive. And there's some decisions, I think, some better decisions have been made. I would just like to see people open up, express their opinions and what they say what they think.
Okay,
I think you make some better decisions there.
okay, thanks, Merle.
Yeah, okay.
Gabby, I think you were the next one on the call. I wasn't quite paying attention, but if you've got something for visitors, feel free to come off mute.
I don't have anything.
Nope.
I'm just listening.
Okay, thanks. Justin, got anything for visitors?
I'm all set. Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Mary.
Hi,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Thank you for all you do. So I just wanted to come and talk about an issue that I guess has been an issue for a long time, and we were like smacked with it when we first got home from our trip. Dogs being off leash. We've been part of that. Like we've had a lot of dogs on our road that hasn't seems to. I didn't know how much of an issue it was, but we just had our dog was just attacked really badly and almost killed on Saturday. We were walking on leash in the village, and a German Shepherd was off leash in the driveway and attacked our dog, and it was really brutal. She almost died. Matt was able to hold her up in the air while the German Shepherd tore her skin off. She had emergency surgery that lasted through the night, and she's in care home right now. So I wish that I had done something sooner, because in like 12 years I've had a lot of really traumatic dog experiences where I've had them. And I wrote a letter to you guys, so I detailed a lot of them because I felt like, oh my gosh, it was time to, express how dangerous they were. And there's a really
in progress.
awful Facebook discussion going on right now. I've been really upset about it, and there's the whole thing on the page. And so I guess I just came here to like start a discussion about it. I wish I had been reporting these instances sooner. I'd love to see, because I know it's an issue, I'd love to see the public in town like more aware of like what should we report, who do we report it to, what are the steps. I wish I had been reporting all of the things that had happened over the years with the dogs, and I just wanted to put that out there. And I have read the dog ordinance, so I'm aware of what the laws are, but like what is the enforcement?
Yeah.
I'm feeling very passionate about it, so I'd love to be part of this, and just that's all.
You
Yeah.
wanna be a dog officer?
Yeah.
I have actually looked into it, but you have to be able to have the dogs at your house. Yeah.
Got it on the thing. Yeah, so I think as Suzanne was kind of alluding to, we've gone through 4 or 5 dog officers in the last 3 or 4 years, maybe. So one challenge is we just don't have the continuity of somebody in that position, which means that when something happens, it ends up either on the health officer's plate or my plate or friend's plate. And then we try to do as best we can as far as responding to incidences or things per the ordinance. What that leaves is any of that normal, regular stuff the dog officer is supposed to be doing, like the dog census, making sure all the things are licensure are in place, rabies clinics, all the kind of other stuff that goes around with just dogs in town. So if we can get a dog officer appointed who is going to be here and do it, I think some of what you're talking about will start to happen more, because there's going to be somebody who is focused on just that and can maybe kind of shepherd some of the conversations in town around kind of the things that you're talking about, as well as just doing the kind of, I don't want to call it maintenance, but basically all the stuff that the dog officer should be doing that hasn't gotten done because we don't have one.
Yeah.
So that is, it's on our agenda still. We've got someone we're trying to nail down. But to the broader point, if you or anybody out there in the world knows somebody that wants to be dog officer, animal control officer, please send them our way.
Is there a way to make that position easier for people to do? Like, I was thinking I would do that, but I wouldn't be able to bring dogs home. I think a lot of people are in that position where they don't have the facilities, or they have children or dogs,
Yeah.
and it's like $5 a day to have the dogs in your home. And some people are set up for that and really passionate about it, but I think it's few and far between.
Yeah, it's hard, because you gotta have the space, the facilities to do it. We are looking at the pay rate pretty closely in terms of what we have offered and what we might need to offer. Like most things, wages are going up, and it's harder to get people to do things for what it used to be. So that's certainly part of it. So we'll keep looking to try to secure that position. In the meantime, we do have the ordinance, which does lay out a process as far as kind of what happens if or when there is an incident with a dog. And so, having received your written complaint about the incident, that'll trigger that process in the ordinance to go through the next steps around what needs to happen now, and notifications, and then the record of incidences, because some of the things in the ordinance are compounding in a way. So like, if this happens once versus twice versus whatever. So that formal process is now going to be started per the ordinance to respond to what happened. I know it doesn't.
I did read through the ordinances, and it seems it seems fine for maybe a dog who's running out of the road and barking, or who's roaming, but I feel like now it's like an emergency situation. Like, I take that walk regularly, and I couldn't even drive by it today. Like, I went and looked at the fence to see, like, this German Shepherd who was trying to kill my dog. And if we didn't have the dog, would he have come for me? And, it feels like an emergency situation with certain dogs. There's a couple others that I can name specifically that have been really threatening, and I played through my head, like, what could happen, and I don't know. So that's just, I guess, like, what to do at this point. Like, this specific dog, for instance,
Yeah.
to ensure that people are safe walking by.
Yeah, and I mean, so the steps there would be, because it's, how do I put it? It's unfortunate that, like, you never know what dog might do what until the dog does it, right? And so, it's hard to put like a blanket, all the way extreme to one end policy in place for everybody versus try to respond and put specific conditions around certain dogs when things happen. And so, I expect that with this incident, one of the things that we'll work through or deal with is, what that owner needs to do with this dog as far as, keeping the dog either leashed or inside or in a contained area or what.
Yeah.
And so where we do know there's been issues with dogs, then we can specifically tell the owner, like, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and if you don't, you're gonna be fined a certain amount of money on a certain basis.
Yeah.
So,
And I try to communicate with dog owners too, and it is tricky if you're trying to go to a person's house whose dog is aggressive. We had a person at the bottom of our hill whose German Shepherd kept coming after me, and I spoke with her in person. I wrote her a letter, and I was just really clear, this dog needs to be on a leash. It just continued to happen. My question now is the dogs that I've had instances with in the last few years that I'm still kind of nervous, like, oh, will I see Penny Lumber's son's dog who's come after me a few times, or will I see this dog? Could I report that now so that, and I'm happy to speak with them when I see Penny again and say, hey, the instance of your dog in the covered bridge and on this hill, like, really scared me. Can we make sure it's leased? Like, I'll have those conversations, but can I report after the fact, like, it's been a couple of years, so that there's a record that these dogs have been aggressive towards people?
yeah, I don't remember specifically, I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that puts like a statute of limitations on anything. That being said, it's harder to, legally, I also don't know, like, if we could trigger an enforcement action based on something that happened that long ago.
Yeah, even just like hey, a phone call, an email, or something, just not even like a fine, just.
Yeah.
I mean, if you emailed us, and then, at least we'd have a record of, okay, this dog did this, and then if it happens later on, we've got a record of, that history of that animal.
Yeah. We're planning to move back to Green Mountain Road at the end of the summer, and, I have my morning walk, and I just would really love it if the owners of this specific dogs in this case, did have somebody say, hey, it's a bit of concern, can you make sure your dog's on the leash?
Yeah.
As far as that.
Yep.
And I think it's worth saying that, the family of this dog that
Handle it.
they've been very responsive and very responsible. And,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's unfortunate
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd have it all.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say as those incidents do happen for anybody in town, sending an email to the board or the dog officer once we get one in there is important because it does
Yeah.
provide that record.
Yeah.
We can then go back to, because, one of the things with the ordinance is that structure of, is this something new? Has this happened before? And that then triggers the ability to kind of put different conditions around an animal. And then, worst case scenario, if it gets to the point where the animal needs to be removed or something, if we don't have a track record to go back on, it's harder to do that kind of an action, so.
And I guess the other issue is people not reporting, so I'm just naming specific
Yep.
instances, cause it's, that's what I'm doing. So, Penny Lumber's son's dog, I've heard like 3 other people or so say that the dog has chased them or scared them or whatever. So, I hear this a lot about certain dogs. Oh, that dog. Oh, yeah, this, up in Hill West or here. Is there a way, that we can kind of like open this up for people and say, hey, you should report if you're, intimidated, threatened, chased, bit, please report.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that
because
would
we
be-
do have Vermont has the highest, per capita dogs, like we have so many dogs, and we have so many dogs in Montgomery, and it's like, this could have been a kid.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it would be good to have a kid.
Mhm.
People would report one.
yeah,
Yeah, just letting people know, hey.
yep,
Thinking about, like, I know we've pursued this possible application for a dog officer. If it doesn't go through, and I don't know if you have an update on that, but is it worth considering sort of dividing up the responsibilities of what a dog officer would do so that someone like Mary, who might be interested in getting involved, could be willing to do and get paid for the paperwork side of things, and someone else might be willing to do the going to the dog owners and discussing with them, and then the last factor being, impounding the dogs. That obviously is a lot more responsibility.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I think the board can consider any framework that works. I mean, we have, in a way, we've been trying the piecemeal approach for the last few years in terms of, Brent doing a house visit or me writing a letter and whatever, and Sue, so
I know it winds up.
it makes it a little hard to make sure that everything's happening, and it all kind of with a continuity to it, right?
Yeah.
But then again, we've also struck out getting a dog officer in one individual for how long now? So maybe we do need to consider that.
Seems like a tricky position in all towns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And an undercompensated one probably.
yeah,
It's a big commitment in taking the dogs in, even if you just split that part up and it was like,
yeah.
And what,
Working
I
with
think maybe we can find out what other places do as far as sort of impounding dogs when that needs to happen. And I know that in Burlington, they contract out that service to, and I forget where it is now, but, so like,
Humane Society or something.
it's not, it's a private facility like Bed and Biscuit would be, but they have a separate section so that if there are dogs that need to be brought in, they're able to be brought in. And so maybe we need to contact some of the local organizations,
Yeah.
businesses that have that service, and then, ultimately, we as a town don't foot that bill. Like, the dog owner foots that bill to get their dog back, and they need to go and pay that bill and pick their dog up. That's how it works in
Yeah.
larger
a lot of
municipalities.
these businesses are looking to grow too, people who do have the dog kennels, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's some of the issue too, is we used to be able to go to the Humane Society in St. Albans and bring them down there, and they would take care, they would do it, but they don't do it anymore. So that's some of the issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Being harder to be dog officer.
So there's a few things here I guess the board needs to kind of wrestle with. The first is the dog officer position itself. The other one might be restructuring some of the portions of the ordinance that deal with dogs that are, removed for some duration or permanently in terms of how that's handled, and then the fine structure as well. I think the fine that we need all 3 of those things happening.
Yes.
So we'll continue to work on that, and see if we can get a better framework going forward in town. And then just as far as this one incident goes, like I said, we'll start the formal kind of notification process that we do with everything, so that that's documented and recorded, and then expectations are set around, you know, what happens next.
Yeah, I'd like to know how that goes. I know that Kathy Powell helped. She came and like gave us a ride to her car after, and she said that the dog frequently jumps the fence. Some neighbors tried to reassure me that there was going to be an electric fence underneath, but you know, Carmen Jewett's dogs jumped the fence to come after me when I was pregnant, and our neighbors' dogs have done the same. So I would hope that, I don't know, when you go to address that, like, make sure this dog
Yeah.
can't get out, run into the village and kill someone's dog or,
Yeah.
or child.
Yep.
Yeah, so, but thank you guys for
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
you do,
Thanks
Yeah.
for coming in.
for having us.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
take care.
Good night.
So Marika, I just noticed that you joined us, and so I want to give you a chance to hop in for visitors if you've got something for visitors.
I'm here for the discussion on the survey.
Okay, well, we can certainly, if there's no objection, we can jump to that right now. So as folks remember from previous conversations, the committee that's working on the renovations to this building, one of the things that the committee came up with us needing to do in order to expand anything going out this way in the building is to actually get a survey done that clarifies where the lot lines go, because there's conflicting information which potentially could, if it's one way, mean that we potentially might not be able to expand to a certain degree without crossing the lot line. So we need to get that line surveyed. We currently have 2 quotes in hand right now. The first one is from Harvey Chafee here in Montgomery. This is a $5,000 quote. Then we've got a quote from Bernard and Jarvis in Enosburg that is about $3,500. It says total estimated costs $3,000 to $3,500. So I would say $3,500 on the high end would be there. So one for $3,500, one for $5,000. What we had asked the library to consider and hopefully work with us on is to split the cost of the survey, since it's a joint project between the entities here in the building. That's what we were hoping the library would be able to work with us on.
Mhm.
So those are the 2 quotes we've had. Has the library board had a chance to discuss this at all, Marika?
No, we're having our meeting Monday.
Next Monday, okay.
Monday. But I thought, Mike Jarvis's survey, even though it's slower than Harvey's, he has a lot of tangibles in there. So his survey might come up closer to Harvey's.
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. Mike has a lot of what in there?
Tangibles.
Tangibles.
Tangibles, you know, it may be more than 3,500. And whereas Harvey said it's not to exceed 5,000. So this might come in lower, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's difficult, you know, it's automatically would say, okay, we'll go with the lower one.
Is there a reason that Jarvis's is so much lower than Harvey's, like specifics that he gives?
I haven't reviewed the quotes. I just got this today. I haven't had a chance to read through these. Yeah, I think that what we'd have to do if we went with Bernard and Jarvis is to say, you know, 3,500 is the cap. You know, it can't be it might be this or it might be that. We need a quote that is a definitive quote. So we would want to get that nailed down before we, you know, move to accept either one of these.
But I'm sure the library will, so, you know, share the cost. I mean, a big part of it will be, for the library extension.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, the quotes are here. If you want to talk to the board at your meeting next Monday, you're welcome to grab a copy of the quotes. They're going to be in the yellow folder here. And then if the library board has any feedback on a quote that they would prefer the board to entertain versus another one, we can act on this at our next meeting and get the ball rolling on it.
Well, I received a call from Eric Bokash, he sent it to me.
Okay, great.
Forwarded to the rest of the board, and then we can discuss it next Monday.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for coming in to chat about that. All right,
Hey Charlie, if I may, I did have a suggestion.
yeah,
I think more microphones on the town hall. I think it may be well if we could put a microphone on each, maybe even one in the middle, because that table's so wide, you can't hear everybody.
Oh, okay.
okay, we'll see if we can,
If you could add more microphones, I think it'd be a benefit to everybody to have one on each end of the table.
okay. Thanks, Merle. We'll see what we can do to get better audio quality.
Thank you.
So we'll jump back into Public Works. We were on Buildings and Grounds before visitors. Try to get through some of this pretty quickly. The 98 Main Street, there's no updates there. Still trying to get the post office to answer some very basic questions about their intent. The one thing that I am looking for right now is I'm trying to get a quote for a commercial appraisal of the building. If we do decide that the best course of action is to actually sell the building, we're gonna want an appraisal done to understand kind of what we would put it out there for. Commercial appraisals are different than residential appraisals, and there's not that many people left right in this area that do commercial appraisals anymore. I got a list of about 6 names that I've reached out to. So far, 4 of them have said they don't do it anymore, and 2 haven't responded yet. So
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna keep tracking it down to see if we can get a quote on one, but that might be the next step there, is to get an actual appraisal done so we know what the building is currently worth. I did ask the listers if they could work something up for us to give us an idea, but they've deferred basically in terms of, you know, what they are able to do in their role versus what we need is kind of 2 different things. And because the last time that building was appraised, during the townwide appraisal was so long ago and so much has happened that data is no longer really, you know, relevant or good for us. So I'll keep trying to get quotes and we can see if we can get one to keep that moving forward. That would be the next step there.
Sue's got her hand up.
Oh, hi Sue. Yep.
Charlie, I was going to say, if you call one of the local banks, they will tell you who they use in this area for their commercial loans, because
Okay.
we always needed to have commercial appraisers. And I'm sure that, you know, the TD Bank, Community National, People's, they would share the name of the appraisers that they use.
Okay, I hadn't thought of that, Sue. That's a great idea.
I'm sure you could also ask the insurance agencies locally because they would have to have the same
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll reach out to the bank and then I'll maybe hit up some insurance.
They'll share with you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sue. So that's the state of play there right now with the 98 Main Street location. Item 2 under Buildings and Grounds, the renovation updates. So the main update there is just getting the survey figured out.
Yeah.
So we'll wait to hear back confirmation from the library board, and then we can act on one of those quotes at our next meeting. The added item here was the mowing contract. So if folks remember last year, end of the winter, we put out an RFP for mowing for all the town properties. Through that process, we selected Avery's, and went with Avery's. The contract with them was for 1 year. We did not put out a new RFP this past winter to try to, you know, put out a net again. At this point, given that it's already May, I don't know if we are in a position where we have time to actually do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Erin did check with Avery's, and they are willing to basically keep the pricing the same as it is in the existing contract. The one thing they would ask to add is an 8% fuel surcharge. until the price of fuel goes below $3.50 a gallon,
Yeah,
just to help cover the added fuel costs. But as far as personnel, equipment, all that kind of stuff, they're gonna maintain the same rates as last year.
yeah.
So, if the board's comfortable, then the motion would be just to renew the contract with Avery's, with the 8% fuel surcharge as requested.
I'll make a motion to approve continuing the contract with Avery's with the 8% surcharge.
Great, so we have a motion, from Suzanne to renew the contract with the 8% surcharge as discussed. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great, thanks, Leanne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries.
I told Avery, like, around the pump stations and all that stuff, that Scott and I can take care of that this year.
Okay.
We won't have to do the trimming around all of it. Just the water plant, we can keep that mobile. But, as far as the other sites, we can take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So that brings us into Water Commission. First item there is the annual consumer confidence report of the CCR.
So this is a yearly report of the water system and all the testing, and then we usually send it out with the bills at the end of June. It has to be out by July 1st. Then we send back a notice to the state that we posted it and everything. So yeah, we get a template from the state, and I went over it and had to add in, you know, like when our meetings are and then who the contact information is.
Okay.
And so I put all that in, and the rest of it's pretty much all the testing. And I looked over all that, and that seems to be all accurate. So we had a couple deficiencies, and I just put in that the monthly reporting has been taken care of, and the chemical, the booster pump at the booster station has been fixed too. So the deficiencies have been already repaired. So.
Okay.
And then everything else is just boilerplate, it's explanation of everything.
Okay. So then the action here would be to approve the CCR to go out end of June with the bills.
Do you have copies of that, Mark, or do you just have the one copy?
I got a copy right here you can have. I got it on.
Sorry, was everybody not copied on the email that had this? Must not have
It
been.
was attached.
Sorry about that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would like to take a look at it before
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decision.
Anybody else? I got another copy here.
Here's one. Check it out too.
So there's 3 different options.
Okay.
tested every year?
No,
Okay.
no, some stuff's done every 3 years.
Every,
There's a schedule every year that comes out, and then we test with that schedule. Like lead and copper is done every 3 years.
okay,
I think that's due this summer. Yeah, some things are on, some are 5 years.
okay.
As long as your level is below action level, you don't test every year. The only thing that's done every month is the chlorine, coliform test is done every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the school had that issue with was it the lead in their water, was that a result of the town water, or was that related to, that was the
I think-
school's pipes?
I think it was the piping in the school.
Yeah.
Because ours is way below the
Yeah.
action level.
Yeah, everything
When-
looks below.
When we do lead and copper, we have, I think, 10 locations, 10 different places in town.
That's what I was
Take it
gonna
all.
ask, how many different places
I
were
think there's like 10,
samples?
and then, so, all different plumbings and everything. Then they come up with an action level, they, they average them all, and then, as long as it's below the action level,
Thank you.
yeah. I'm sure all the consumers, when they get that, they just read it.
Cover to cover, yeah.
Yes. But we have to send it out.
Yep. Kinda wanna like bury some little
Good, thanks.
fun thing in there,
Thanks
so
for
you can pick
taking
it
the
up.
time.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes.
So the motion would be to adopt the CCR for distribution with the June bills.
I'll make the motion to adopt the CCR for distribution of the June bills.
Great, is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Great. Next up, under Water Commission is the water tank depth level transmitter for the 242 storage tank. Do you want to describe what's going on with that, Mark?
So in the tank is a submersible pressure transmitter that is not working anymore. I have to fill the tank manually because it's not telling me what the level is in the tank, so I have to visually. And then I have to turn the pumps on and everything. We had one that went bad on the tank up on my house before I took over a while ago. And so now we just need to buy another one. There's 3 different quotes here.
You guys want
to share that
one?
Unfortunately, the one that we have is the most expensive one. And we probably should go with that one because I know that one will fit in with what we have. We want to change anything else as far as communications and everything with it. So it's that first one, the Druck 1800 series submersible pressure transducer for $1,062.78. You have free shipping. I shopped around for it to see where, there's not too many people that have them. This is actually in Burlington.
How long do these last?
Well, I mean, that one's been in since 2007,
Oh,
But I mean, when you get lightning storms and stuff, they get damaged and just, they're in a, in a wet environment all the time, so it will be nice to get that replaced. And we have been doing some work. The pump station by the school, the pumps needed to be rebuilt, then that's been all done. We did some work on the building. And electrical, we had some mice get in there, and so I had Mark Larrabee, he's redone all the electrical, everything's all been fixed, and the pumps have been sent out. Were sent out to be redone. So that, we had a new one on order, but I don't think we need the new one now. I can't canceling the order on the new one because we actually could get ours rebuilt, which I wasn't sure if we were gonna be able to. So,
Yeah.
So the bearings were bad in them, and we found some of the problem was there was no support under the pipes in a couple areas, so we supported it so it's not putting so much weight on the bearings. So we're trying to make them last longer this time.
Good.
So that pump station is pretty much in good shape now. So,
Good.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like the part that we need, or the option that we should go with, given the need and the way everything is currently set up, is this more expensive one. It's the Druck 1800 series submersible pressure transmitter. And that's the quote for $1,062.78. So the motion would be to approve the quote in the amount of $1,062.78 for the Druck 1800 series submersible pressure transmitter.
Say that faster.
Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the expenditure?
I'll make that motion.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thanks, Emily. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain.
Any abstentions? One abstention from Mark. So the motion carries 4-0-1. Great.
I had one more question of the Water Commission. Have we got those easements yet for that Reagan Road?
No, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the list, but things keep
I
coming
know,
up on top
I
of the
know.
list.
Wow, you have quite a bit on your list, so.
But it is now that it is spring and we can move on that. That is,
Yeah.
Yeah, next up.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
get that done. I should get on the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
The other thing that was added under Water Commission, just at the behest of Erin, was just giving her the green light to send out
Okay.
shut-off notices.
Okay.
So Erin emailed around a copy of this, everybody should have it, but basically the green that she's highlighted are those accounts that are, I think at least 2 quarters overdue.
Okay.
So you'll see that, some of those accounts that are on here for, 1 quarter of use, $100 or so, we're not including those. These are the ones that are going on at least 2 or 3 quarters.
So she's sending out the card as a notice right now? Or are we doing door notices on these? I think she sends out a notice.
Card, and then we
A
follow
card,
up.
and then we follow up with, I go around and put notices on doors.
Yeah,
With a shut-off date after this, if they don't pay with the card. There's a certain time frame we have to go by.
yeah. So the first step would be to authorize Erin to send out send it out. And in some cases, some of these, there's already been a couple here that were fixed because there was just issues with where the bills were going. So, some of these could just be,
Oh, yeah,
bad addresses or something like that, so.
that's why we send the card
Yeah.
first.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to authorize Erin to mail the shut-off notices?
I'll make a motion to authorize Erin to just mail shut-off notices.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great.
It was interesting when I was reading meters, a couple of people realized that I'm operating the water system again. And they were like, oh, I guess we better pay our bill. I operated before, I used to, some of these same people.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting.
Yep.
Yes.
What goes around, right?
So,
Comes back again.
It's not that I'm being, it's just,
Yeah.
you need to pay your bill like it's fair to everybody else.
Yeah. So the last item under Public Works here was just carried forward, the Longley Bridge tap project. There's no updates at this time. Right now, we're just trying to get the bid quotes back so that we can adopt one of those and move forward with the work.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping that we get those in the next week or so that we can get the ball rolling on this
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm happy to say that the work we did last year has held up well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that hasn't moved a bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gonna rip it all out of it.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just-
All right.
Yeah.
What are we going
Yeah.
on year 4 now with this?
I think so, yeah.
But at least it's holding, I mean,
It's holding there,
it's
yeah.
going,
Yep,
it's washing out other places, but at least the road is protected.
Yeah.
yes.
And so that works. Yeah.
So then we'll move to old business. First item here is the municipal website updates. Any news on that, Emily?
Yeah, we met 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, and we are working to figure out the systems that are going to make it the most accessible to any user, no matter whether they're using it like on a PC or in a mobile format.
Oh, okay.
So that is definitely a priority. and really working to reorganize things so that it is the most user-friendly that it possibly can be. We're getting rid of things that have been archived, that are still showing up, that just adds like layers of confusion to our current website.
Okay.
And we have a shared document for communication between Liz, Zach, and myself for things as we're editing and updating. And the goal is ultimately to have something ready to go for July 1st, to make it live, but prior to that, obviously bringing to the board what we've been working on, how it looks, and letting everybody take a run through with it, and not taking down anything that we have that's sort of operational. As it stands, until we know that what we have developed is on solid footing, ready to move forward. We know that there's gonna be kinks, we know that there's going to be things that need to be reworked and revamped. And the discussion that we had was that July would be a really good time to sort of set it free and see what problems we discover, because it'll be a few months before any town elections or voting. Often, you know, Liz said that she sees less traffic on the website, or she has less phone calls about people trying to navigate the website over the summer. I don't know if it's just people are not using it as much, if what that is, but it seems like that would be a good time to roll it out.
Awesome.
So that's where we're at, and I will continue to keep you updated on that, but right now it's just like the process is moving forward, so you can feel free to take it off the agenda for you know, every meeting updates, and when there is something of significance, I will pop it back on the agenda.
Awesome. Perfect.
Thanks.
Sweet. Cool. Next item under old business is the wastewater and streetscape projects. So only update here is that we should hopefully this week finally have definitive answer on the land purchase requirements. So how much of what property we actually need to look at, and then get into discussions with landowners. So that's the next step with the wastewater side of it. With the streetscape project portion of it, if folks remember, we got a TAP grant, a Transportation Alternatives Program grant from the state to help us with the work this summer to kind of do some on the ground survey work and engineering to get us towards kind of a more definitive, you know, what do we actually want to do and how would it fit to get us to final engineering. We did get back an RFP, or a response to the RFP that we sent out for that work that's covered under the TAP project, and we are going to have a meeting tomorrow afternoon, I believe, tomorrow, Tuesday, to go back through the RFP and then respond to the engineers in terms of our questions from the RFP, so we can hopefully get that moving.
So there was only one that came back?
Well, so if you remember, we did the
that's right.
we
did
got
a survey
in
before.
Yeah, so we used the way that we did it is there's a at the ready process where basically you can look at a list of firms the state has pre-approved.
That's right, we already did that.
And so we went through the list and pulled out the one that we thought would be the best fit, and then basically sent the RFP just to them.
Yeah.
So the at the ready process allows us to streamline it if we want to go that way.
Yeah.
It does tie our hands on the back end a little bit in terms of some of what we could negotiate with the at the ready contractor, but we used the same system prior for the original engineering work for the wastewater system. So we've done it in the past and it's worked.
So that's for the whole streetscape project, I mean.
That is for the actual engineering work for the planning of it.
Because there's stage one is from the rec center to around the corner, right?
Yeah, so the first.
So that's the first phase.
Yeah, so what we pulled out is we pulled out basically what we thought was the least controversial phase of work, which is basically just improving parking at the rec center and tying it in with a sidewalk that goes right up into town all the way to River Street.
Yeah.
And so that's what we applied to the Northern Board of Regional Commission for $1 million to assist with. That was submitted, the letter of intent was submitted, God, at the end of last week, has it only been
Yeah.
since Friday? Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I saw that go.
Yes, hopefully we get asked back for a full application. I will say that every time I talk to the state folks about this project, or just Montgomery in general, they're super enthusiastic
That's good.
about it, and they, you know, they want to work with us. And as an aside too, I was talking with a couple different committees in the legislature last week about some other stuff, and Montgomery came up. And every time this project gets talked about down there, they basically say this is the model that we want to replicate around the state as far as how communities can intersect with these funds and plan projects like this and execute on it the way you did. So it's neat just to hear people
Yeah.
from all over the state basically looking at Montgomery and saying, you know, that you guys are setting a model that we want to be able to follow elsewhere.
Yeah.
Charlie, I think
Yeah.
that they're looking at Montgomery, but I really think that they're looking at your dedication to this project and
Well-
in securing these things, really, because you've been a driving force behind this and you've really been creative about how to leverage the most funds, so I think that you should take some credit where it's due.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks. But I think we have done a lot of work together as a town, and we have a lot of work left to do, and that's what scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll see what happens with the NBRC money. The TAP money we've got, that'll move us into this next phase of figuring out the what. And then the back end of this is gonna be how do we come up with whatever money we need to actually execute on the remainder of the project, if we move forward with that for the rest of Main Street. So there's still a lot of pieces to pull together, but
Yeah.
we're moving in the right direction. So that's the update on the streetscapes and wastewater projects. Next up is C, the municipal purchasing policy. So everybody should have a copy of this. Hopefully this won't take too long to go through. The main things with the purchasing policy that we want to address are who can execute on it and what are the limits. So if there are other, let me walk through and we're gonna hit, oh good, this actually printed out with, okay, good, so you've got the
Yeah.
mark. Okay, so if you look at page 2, first off, purchasing authority. Right now, Aaron and Liz are purchasing agents. If it's okay, I think it makes sense to add Mark as Public Works Director as a purchasing agent. So that's one change that I would like to recommend there is making Mark a purchasing agent. Going down that page, incidental minor and major purchases. So this is where we've started to realize that we probably need to kick these numbers up some because there are certain things that, you know, especially with Public Works, that just are needed that are more than $500. But given the bi-weekly meeting schedule, we don't want to get in a situation whereby a need arises on the Tuesday after a meeting and we can't approve an expenditure for another 2 weeks and then it takes 2 weeks to ship, so we're out for something for a month, so.
Perfect example is, I had to get batteries for the grader. The grader wouldn't start. Batteries are $562. I went ahead and got them, but, I mean, I can't be limited. You know, the grader's gotta go. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
so some things we just, you know,
Yeah,
so some of those limits could probably go up
Go up.
a little bit.
so
I mean,
the,
$500 doesn't go very far.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the recommended changes here in talking with Aaron, just doing kind of a track record of purchasing and kind of thinking about
Yeah.
what we're bumping up into. So the recommendation here would be to increase incidental purchases, that first one, go from 500 to 1,000. Minor purchases, we would take from $1,001 to $5,000.
So what do we mean, like minor purchases? I mean,
Well, so minor,
so like that flow sensor I just,
well, so we can talk about, So this is just the minor major designations are just the dollar figures are how they're differentiated. So
Oh, okay.
if it is greater than, it becomes a minor versus a major.
Oh, okay.
So these are the recommendations, and then I'd like
Okay.
to hear, with your public works director hat on, take your select board hat off for a second, put the public works director on.
Yeah,
I want to walk through these and then get your take on whether you think this is workable or if we need to adjust them. So incidental purchases, we're talking about going from 500 to 1,000. So anything less than $1,000 is an incidental purchase. A purchasing agent can make that without prior board approval.
yeah,
Minor purchases, this would go from $1,001 to $5,000. This
Okay.
this would require prior approval of the board.
that makes sense.
And when we have those, we would like to get at least a couple quotes. Not required, we'd like to get a couple. Major purchases, we would amend that to $5,001. So anything over $5,000 basically is a major purchase. And this is what we would kick us into a higher level of basically vendor, looking at vendors and bids. So how we treat it is also a little bit different than just the kicking it into board approval. And then the federal funding, a lot of this is subject to the Davis-Bacon Act, but the recommendation there was to take it from $3,000 and make it match the major purchases, so make it $5,001. So those were the recommended changes there. So again, incidental go from 5 to 1,000. Minor go from 1,000 to 5,000, major 5,000 and above, and then make the federal funding match the 501. Going to page 3, the recommendation here is just on the third paragraph, purchases at or exceeding 150,000, blah, blah, blah. That last sentence, just deleting it. Bid specs, halfway down the page, the part that says insert dollar amount, the recommendation there is to go for 5,000. And so going back to that whole major purchase thing and how it kicks into a different system. So a major purchase, which is 5,000, we would then have to get the bid specs as shown here.
Can it be 5,001?
5,001,
That
yeah,
should be-
yep.
Okay.
Yep, so that's the recommendation there is to match that at 5,000 or $5,001. And those are the recommended changes.
Yeah, I think
Discussion, does that work? Does that
I
sound
think that's
works?
doable.
Okay,
Yeah.
any other discussion from board members on those recommended changes?
Am I get grammatical correction?
Yeah, so what I will say is if anybody's got any grammatical things around spelling, punctuation, if you wanna make some notes and then just give them to me or email them to me,
Okay.
what I will do is I will amend this and we'll do a final approval at the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't think we need to walk through like the grammatical stuff so
No.
much, but if you've got changes, I can incorporate them when we do that.
That's fine, it was just one that doesn't make sense.
My question, I guess, is with regard to minor purchases, because I'm hearing you say that moving this marker for incidental purchases up to $1,000 makes total sense to me. But say we get into a situation where Mark needs 2 new batteries for the grader and they're $502 a piece. He's now at $1,004. Are we gonna leave the grader? Like, is there an emergency contingency where Mark checks in with Aaron and says, this is what we need, this is what it, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
What is because I don't wanna see the grader sitting around for
Yeah, well,
3 weeks and, nor does anyone else. I'm
Yep.
asking what the contingency plan for that is without having a special meeting.
So that would be the contingency. It would be that we would, because there's nothing in here that's baked into like, in the event of an emergency,
Yeah.
the chair in consultation with the treasurer, there's nothing in there like that. So the trigger would be that if something came up, we'd have to have a special meeting just to approve that expenditure. Now to the example with the batteries is an interesting one because there is this question of like,
I mean, I'd put them on 2 separate receipts.
I was gonna say,
That
Those
would
are
be-
two
That would be
expenditures.
my
Yeah.
workaround, that would be 2 expenditures, but for something like a repair, and I guess I'm asking
Well, that's
with
it.
regard to, do we need to get
So-
bids for repairs on things? Like if we
Well,
have
some-
maintenance that has to be done, does this make sense?
Well, I
No.
try to, like, say a truck goes in, I mean, Clark's International is the place, I'll try to get a quote before they do the work. But sometimes the work's gotta be done anyways, but you try to get a quote so we have some idea.
So
of
then
what it's
should
gonna
there be an
cost.
estimate piece in
I
here
mean-
for repairs and maintenance? A written
Yeah.
estimate of repair costs will be submitted so that we have an idea. I mean, obviously, things change a bit, but, you know, similarly, like, we're not getting a bid for people to fix equipment. That's not how that works.
Well, it wouldn't be a bid so much,
Well-
it would be an estimate.
Right.
I do get, I try to, shop around some
Yeah.
repairing things.
But it's an interesting differentiation, Emily, and perhaps, we can
Maybe I'm splitting hairs. but-
adjust the language there around bids versus estimates. So I think we can do that clear enough. Let me just make a note to clarify bid versus estimate. And I can write something up to put in here as well, and we can look at it next time. I think
Okay.
you make a good point that it's a little unclear, so we can make that more clear in terms of bid, because there's a difference between purchasing a consumer good versus a service.
Right,
And right now, they're kind of jumbled, so we can clear that up though.
okay.
Okay. Cool, well, if all of those notes sound good, I will incorporate these into a clean draft and we can approve it at the next meeting. Okay. Anything else on the purchasing policy anybody has?
So I think putting me on as one of the agents, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Great, so the next one up is the building use policy. This is something that I've been discussing with Liz off and on for a while. And the only 2 things that we basically, after going around and around with it, kind of came up to is, one is at the end of the policy, and I don't even know if it's actually attached to what you have in your hands, but there's a list of approved,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, people who use it were pre-approved basically?
yeah. And what Liz basically said is,
Is that one on the website?
It
it's,
is on the website.
yeah, it's not, I don't think it's on the copy that you've got.
No, it's not.
But Liz's recommendation was essentially just to do away with that list because we have to maintain it and then we have to kind of basically say,
It's done and then.
you're a nonprofit versus you're not, and it's kind of just like an unneeded step, essentially. Because what we can do is just differentiate between nonprofit organizations, community groups, and private renters. And what Liz can basically do is, instead of having a list of, pre-approved people, Liz would basically just take it in and approve it based on the individual entity itself. Like, are they a nonprofit, therefore they fit into this rate or this one, and is the use approvable per what we're talking about in here in terms of what's suitable for this room versus that room. So she could decline decline it just based on what they're saying. So for example, if someone wanted to have rock band practice in here during business hours, she could say no. But the idea would be to get rid of the appendix so that we don't have to maintain that or manage it anymore. The other one that she has is the fee schedule. And so if we go to page, appendix A, the fee schedule, page 6. So public events versus private events. I think what Liz was talking about here was keeping things essentially cheap or free for community groups, but boosting the rate for private events, not open to the general public. Right now, and I could have sworn it was already higher than this, but right now our PSB conference room rate for a private event is $25. A town hall is $50 for a private event. I could have sworn it was 200, but
I thought it was.
I'm sitting
I
here,
thought it was
sitting here looking at this, and it says it is.
I remember we
Yeah, I don't know why it's not.
Is the one on the website, was the one on the website list 50 or 200?
I don't know. Let me check.
I'm sure.
Yeah, 'cause
For private.
Do you know what it's under? Is it under documents?
actually,
Yeah,
I think I can tell you.
Look at it on my phone.
I don't even know how to find it.
I think I had it listed from a link someone sent me.
Oh, here we go. Use of municipal buildings policy.
These are the types of things that'll be easier to find. I promise.
Good.
Oh yeah, sure. That's right.
What's the on the cover of the one that you've got in front of you? What's the amended date?
July 3rd, 20, or
April 4th through.
2006.
2022.
Amended
Amended,
September
oh,
23rd, 2019.
amended April 4th, 2022.
Oh, okay, yeah, so wait a second. So on the website, it's got a different rate structure than what we're looking at in front of us. And this has a different date. Let's
Amended. 2019, that's when you raised the
Yeah.
rate. That's when you
What?
raised the rate.
let's table this until the next meeting if that's okay. Let me get this straightened out as to what version we're working from.
Yeah.
So you can just put all those in a file and I'll recycle them, because those obviously are not accurate. Okay. Sorry about that.
Charlie,
Yep.
oh my god, it just went right out of my head. Oh crap. Oh, I know, okay, I know. Liz and Doug were able to find out for me the capacity for the conference room is 35 people.
Oh,
More than 35 people in the conference room.
okay. Thanks for chasing that down.
Liz dug that
It
up.
says that. in
Yeah, it
there.
does say that.
In there, but we were talking about how most public spaces have a sign somewhere
and
that just
occupancy
says,
sign
yeah,
on the door.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the Grange Hall was always $200, but that's when we had the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me clarify with Liz what happened between this version and the last version on the website, because the dates don't line up. So the files I think got somehow swapped. That's always my biggest fear using the Google Docs, is that like we're not going to source us back to the right file and we end up working from something that's not accurate, which looks like that happened here. So I'll get the right copy of that for next time. Sorry about that. So the next item here is the third quarter budget review. We don't have to dwell on this too long, but just to make sure we're all clear about kind of where we are. Revenue side there's not a whole lot of news there. I mean, most of the things outside of just taxes are just things that are gonna come in anyway.
So we're
In this-
looking at an extra 20,000.
Yeah, in this last quarter. So in revenue though, we don't have the 20,000 that is coming in from that grant reimbursement. So that's not listed here, but as we just discussed, we've got another 20,000 coming in from that unexpected grant reimbursement. Where I do wanna focus us is just on the expenses side. So we talked about this before, but, general government expenses, that 73,000. So we're just waiting on reimbursement for all of that, so that's gonna flow back to a net zero, basically. because all of those are gonna be reimbursed, through one of the prior wastewater grants that we've got. So that number is gonna drop way back down to where it should be. So 40 is not a big concern. Under highway, if we look at highway payroll, so this we knew was gonna be a little bit funky because we have had Billy in working with us through mud season. So we have had an extra person in there. Basically with what we're looking at left in highway payroll, under the 21,000 here, that would not be enough to get us through this last quarter. However, with the 20K that we do have coming in unexpected in revenue, that should make us whole under the highway payroll side of things. So while we are, and we knew we would be over, while we are over, we should be okay coming into that with that extra 20K that we end up with. One bright spot is materials. We are still below budget on the materials.
Yeah. I know machinery repair, we went over for that one truck.
Machinery repair was over for the truck. And then the projects and events, that red line again, that is gonna be reimbursed through the TAP grant that we've got for the Lonely Bridge project. So that 60,000 that you see there is not really an accurate reflection of where we are there in terms of the current actual budget against actual.
We're still good on fuel too.
Yep, still good on fuel. So overall, coming into the last 2 months of the fiscal year, we're in an okay space, I guess is the main takeaway here. We didn't blow the budget during mud season. The expected overages that we've got them, but there's nothing in here that's like, massive red flags that we need to be worrying about.
Well, I didn't have to contract out quite so much stuff this time.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the budget status review. Just wanted to finally get that in front of everybody so that we had the numbers. At the end of this quarter, as we come out of the fiscal year, we'll do one more just to see where we all shook out, but then we'll be into FY23. Item F under old business, this is the animal control officer appointment. As discussed earlier, I've tried to contact, I left a couple messages for the candidate that we are still hoping to speak with. I haven't heard back yet. I'm gonna still keep trying to get her on the phone at least to talk with her. But if anybody does have anybody else that they think we should reach out to or knows anybody interested, by all means, send them my way.
Yeah.
Item G, the town land lease expiration. So this expires on 5/5, so it expires Thursday. So tonight's the night, we've got to make a decision on this. So just as a recap, we had the leases up. We did have a proposal come in from the Conservation Commission looking at some floodplain restoration and then more kind of conservation work down there with potentially some expansion of community garden space or edible nursery. And then Wayne did come in the other day to chat with us about kind of where they're at. And Wayne did offer to increase the lease rate. He was gonna go to, trying to recall now, I can pull it up.
100 acre, I think 1,700 a year.
Yeah.
100 an acre.
100 an acre, which is up from 70.
Up from, yeah, it was 1,200 a year at least.
Yeah.
1,260 or something.
Did you have a chance to follow up with him about the herbicides?
I did, yeah. I don't have, it is on my desk, but it is Acuron. I have the name, the commercial name of the herbicide, yeah.
But it has a residue for
Yeah,
is it
so
1 year or 2 years?
it's an 18-month persistence, basically.
The Roundup wouldn't be that, it wouldn't have the carryover.
I don't know off the top of my head what the can't think of what the word we're looking for is, but the basically continued effect out of
Yeah.
it. I don't know. I'd have to look it up what Roundup has for that.
So you really can't seed it down. Grass seed wouldn't take for at least 18 months.
Yeah, so you gotta assume that they put that on there like last May, so 12, so yeah, getting us through this growing season, we wouldn't be able to put down, grass seed. Now, I haven't had a chance to dig into like exactly what we might be able to put down in the absence of grass seed. Thinking about stuff like winter rye or other not grass.
Yeah, but then you gotta reseed it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing with, if we were to reseed it, the main thing would just be to stabilize the soil.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I wanted to throw out there, that we lease it to them again for 5 years, and at the 4th year, they reseed it for the 5th year. You know, so it's back to grass, and then we just tell them the lease is done after the 5th year. Then it's reseeded and we take it back over, so we don't have to have the cost of seeding it back down.
Of doing that. Do you have any idea? I have no.
I mean-
What's the cost associated with taking that? If we were to go take that field from what it is now and do the work to get it seeded down.
You look at it, $2,000 to $3,000 at
Okay.
least. And then to have somebody do it, you know.
But is that not something that the Conservation Commission would perhaps fund because they're trying to endorse this project?
They could. I mean, I can't speak for the what the budget's like and what they've got in their reserve accounts. But potentially, it is something that they could come to the table with.
I wonder if there's also funding from like the Missisquoi River
Yeah, Basin
Association.
There probably is. Yeah.
I have to say, like, he was very personable and clearly a good salesman, and no disrespect to Wayne, but I was really appalled by all of that manure spreading that they were doing right on the river as it was pouring rain this last couple weeks. And I just found that, like, I know he said, like, every little bit helps, and I understand that from, like, a farming perspective, thank you.
Yeah.
But, like, that 1.7 acres, like, you know, it's right on the river. It can't be that huge of a difference, and it could, you know, just ecologically speaking, be a small difference conservationally that I certainly would like to endorse.
Okay.
Like, I know that the expensive seeding is something that might be hard to swallow or might be something to be addressed, but
I have no desire to see that back in corn, especially knowing the herbicides that they're putting down right on the river.
yeah.
I mean, if it's not gonna allow grass to grow for 18 months, like we've got a problem that they're using it right by our river anyway.
Yeah, with the swimming hole right
With
there.
the swimming hole right there. We may have a problem and we may really need to consider whether we want to put that forth as a community garden space or a fruit nursery space, knowing what was going into the soil for so long. But I have
Yeah.
no desire to see that going back into corn. And I know that I was not here to hear what he had to say about that, but I was disgusted by the practices that I saw happening in the last 2 weeks as it was pouring rain and the liquid manure just being spewed into our river in other locations, but I don't need to see that happening right there. You know, I wanna see, that's an area that I think our community could really benefit from recreating in, and just conserving. And if it's $3,000, if it's $5,000 to reseed it, it is what it is. And yeah, we're gonna have to find something that will grow there in order to mitigate erosion this year. And I think that maybe we need to go back to someone like Carissa who has some experience probably with dealing with that to find out what we can plant in the meantime. But I think that there are a lot of funding sources out there, and I would be willing to go beat the drum to find funding sources for seed if I need to.
Okay.
Pocket it myself.
I will say.
Here,
I will
let's
say, just
record
in
a
terms
meeting.
of just in terms of the herbicide conversation, I you know, depending on how we decide tonight, the next step in one direction would be I would reach out to bring somebody in who is an expert in that to discuss it, because herbicides, I mean, they're a hot topic in general. Anyway, I just want to make sure that, like, before we dig into like what's what and how do we do it, I want to bring in a third party basically to kind of explain some of this to us.
And we may need to do some soil testing and sampling.
We could, I think it's better just if we got kind of like an independent kind of, what actually is it, what is it doing, what is the residual, and what are the impacts there to X, Y, Z. Cause that is not,
Sue's got a question.
yeah, sorry, Sue, go ahead.
No, I was just I was just going to say, as a townsperson and as a member of the Conservation Commission, I would like to see us not renew that lease and go with what Carissa had, have said in the letter that she sent you or the report. The Conservation Commission has money that we could use to, get that property back, the way it should be used. But anyway, I just want to put my 2 cents.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
I would hope you wouldn't renew the lease, but anyway, that's it.
Any other discussion in the conversation? We don't need to belabor it, but I want to make space for it. If not, then someone gotta make a motion to do something.
I would make a motion to move to not renew the lease, a non-renewal of the lease, and moving toward conserving that parcel proper. I don't know if that actually needs to be part of the motion.
To not renew the lease.
Non-renewal of the lease is my motion,
Okay,
strong one.
so Emily's moved to not renew the lease agreement. Virtue B is,
Sorry.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Suzanne. Any discussion on the motion? Montgomery has so little, agricultural land that there's a part of me that does feel like any of it that we are taking out of production
Yeah.
can have an impact, and I do kind of agree with you that if you've got 10,000 acres of X, is 10 acres really making an impact? And so it's not so much like an impact on the individual's operation, it's kind of more of the,
If we made them put it back to grass, not put corn there, but I'm sure we couldn't pay that much per acre. if we
No,
just doing grass.
no.
That's it.
yeah, I guess
And they're still gonna be bringing manure over there and all that stuff.
Yeah. I guess my main point is just that personally, I want to support our agricultural community, and
Is
Yeah.
that the type of agricultural community you want to support?
yeah, and I'm not specifically saying about any individual or even a specific property. I guess my main point is that from a global, broad context, I do want to support our agricultural community, and I do want to take opportunities that we can to do that. And there's a little part of me that, seeing land come out of production does seem in principle like a step not in that direction. However, I can be really easily persuaded by the arguments around the specific property that have been made. I guess there's just part of me, because last time we renewed this 5 years ago, we did hear from a portion of the community that was pretty adamant to that end, in terms of we want to support our ag community, we have a history of ag use in this town, and we want to, and so I guess my point is more just around that broader conversation, and how do we kind of think about that in terms of the community and what we do. And now I'm just blabbling, but anyway.
I definitely agree that I want to support and I think most of the board would say that they want to support agriculture.
Yeah.
But and it's not, large scale farm agriculture, you can argue at both sides of the coin, right? And there's subsidizing the government and all of these factors, I understand Hershey's side of it as well, but I don't know,
Well, if we're going to repurpose that property though as
an orchard
It could have
as
agriculture.
community garden space, it still will be utilized.
Yeah.
And it'll be more directly, like, that use of it will be more directly affecting on the town. Like, right now, Richard using that for ag, like, aside from paying the lease, it has no greater benefit to Montgomery community. Except for that $1,700, you know?
Right.
If you could use it agriculturally or for whatever purpose where it directly was being fed back into the town of Montgomery and its people, then even if you lease it to a goat farm or a sheep herd or whatever, you know.
I mean, I thought
Or
about it.
Mark, you know.
I thought about it, but I just couldn't pay that much
Yeah,
per acre that
that
we're
rate.
paying.
Yeah.
I mean, I take care of the upper fields, you know,
Okay.
keep those people.
And if it becomes a garden and people in town can grow their own food, I mean, I think that that is of incredible benefit, like not just to the people that are doing it, but to our community as a whole.
Yep.
And, you know, I see that there could be a lot of potential there to open up a lot more space for community gardening. And I think that, you know, an actionable item there could be that people, like low income people could be given community garden pots for free, and there could be, you know, I think that there's just a ton of opportunity there for our townspeople to participate in. And maybe we do designate it as like a conserved agricultural space in some way, shape, like for community benefit.
And recreation
And,
too.
yeah,
The issue is the access is right by the water plant, so you gotta be careful with parking and, you know,
Yeah.
everything around the water plant, because that's the only access to get to it.
Yeah.
Just to
I
go
mean,
by
you
it.
can't, you have to come down that way,
Yeah.
you know, down through that way, so.
Yeah.
um,
Although hypothetically, could you, like in the long run, like you could extend some sort of something from the ballpark maybe, like parking area, or I don't know.
Well, you gotta get across. the
Yeah, you
river.
have to go across the river to
Yeah,
get
that's
over there, so, okay, well, there's
I mean,
nuts and bolts to be hammered
there's
out.
grants
Right.
available, so we should put a bridge across it.
Yeah.
Right.
Walking bridge.
Walking bridge.
Yeah.
Suspension
So, the way that river changes.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
Changes
Zip line.
Changes yearly.
there you go, perfect.
Changes yearly. Yeah.
Alright, well, so we do have a motion on the table for it, a motion on the table still that's been made and seconded to not renew the lease agreement. And we don't need to, you know, belabor this and talk about it all night, but is there any further discussion on it? Anybody else have anything? If not, we will call the question. All those in favor of the motion not to renew the lease agreement with Hershey's, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Great, motion carries, so 4-1. Yes, we didn't all agree on the same thing, so there you go. Alright,
And we talked about it a lot.
yeah,
So you better let them know right off before they.
Yeah. no, I did talk to him again today, he knows that we're talking about it tonight, and we're gonna make a decision, so.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I mean, I'll be willing to help, you know, get that land.
Yep.
Where we, I've got the equipment.
Yep.
Earl will be happy.
Thank you, Sue, Merle will be happy.
Merle, yeah,
Oh,
Alright, so we can probably,
that's our goal.
jump through new business fairly quickly given it's already 8:30. Conservation Commission appointment, this is a carryover, so it's a vacancy because I stepped down from the Conservation Commission. I've got a few other things going on,
How dare you?
yeah.
Really?
So there is a vacancy on the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has put forward Karen Stanley. So what I would move is, I would move that the board appoint Karen Stanley to fill the vacancy on the Conservation Commission left by the resignation of Charlie Hancock.
Is that Avery's wife?
No, that's.
Tom's,
Tom's
Avery's
wife?
father's,
Okay, okay,
Paul Nichols' stuff.
okay.
are there any other nominations for the Conservation Commission vacancy? Hearing none, we'll close nominations. All those in favor of Karen Stanley filling the vacancy on the Conservation Commission, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Me.
Okay. Great. Dog bite, under new business, that was covered. Emily, do you wanna give a quick update on the housing?
Yeah, and I'm going to forward a letter on to all of you, but technical snafu, so I didn't get it to you today.
Oh,
Lynn Coda sent out an email to all Franklin Northeast Supervisory Union staff, just reiterating obvious teacher shortage that's coming up upon us, and brought to my attention in this letter that a lot of the struggle in finding teachers right now is that teachers can't find housing in this area. And so I just wanted to bring it to our attention that that's something that may not necessarily be impacting the Montgomery school yet, but really in the near future could be, you know, as we see teachers retiring and moving on. I don't have numbers, like I don't have hard numbers of we tried to hire X number of teachers at the SU and X number couldn't find housing and so they didn't accept the positions, but I do know of a few right off of the top of my head that had accepted positions tentatively if they could find housing and then were not able to. Or find affordable housing on a teacher's salary. And so I know that the short-term rental in town has been something that we've been discussing, and I know that it's something that the Development Review Board is gonna be discussing, so I just wanted to bring this issue up through a different lens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna forward the letter on from Lynn to everybody here, and I'm also gonna forward it on to the Development Review Board as they're considering
Great.
drafting ordinances.
Yeah, the planning, so just to clarify, the planning commission is gonna be getting, will be submitting something to us, I thought by now, for review and consideration, yeah. But they did get DRB's input on what they're putting forward, so, great.
I'm gonna forward it to both.
Awesome. So we don't have any overweight truck permits tonight. We do have one liquor and tobacco license, NSR Bridge LLC, which is the Inn. This is a third-class restaurant and bar license, a first-class restaurant and bar license, and a outside consumption permit for the Inn. Is there a motion to approve the liquor license from the Inn?
I'll make a motion to approve the inn's liquor license.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. With that, we're through our agenda. All we have to do is just sign warrants. So if someone wants to make a motion to adjourn, we can adjourn the meeting and get everybody from our first access out of here.
Bye, Sue.
Bye,
Bye, Suzanne.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second. Sorry.
There you go.
Great. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries and the meeting is adjourned at 8:28.